Yo, sema. Ah, ya ndo naona hapa nimecheki iko set. Hata mimi nimecopy paste kila kitu tu kwa Twitter, ni nini? Ni kutap tu ziende. Tukianza. Hi Eric.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. awesome. Welcome, Abel. I think this is the second time you're having Abel in our end of year events. Last time we had him in Flutter Interact Africa, if I'm not wrong. Then today, this our last session for this year, this calendar. Uh, we have one more speaker that you're waiting for, Nilai. So let's give her a few minutes and hopefully we could start. Yeah. Hopefully you guys are well and you are set for the event. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I saw who else was invited, and I was kind of honored to be here with one of the creators of Flutter, Nile, who's I know huge in the community and so on. So I get to be here.
Awesome, awesome. We are really honored to have you on board. Oh, awesome. Nilai, she's here. Hi, Nilai.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I saw who else was invited, and I was kind of honored to be here with the creators of Flutter, Nile, who's
Hello.
I know huge.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Nice to have you. Can you hear us clearly? Hello?
Looks like he's
Hello,
stuck.
Okay, cool. Now, because we have everyone on board, we will start. So, my name is Eric Muli, organizer for Flutter Kenya, and this is our last session, our last meetup over the year. We've been having sessions as from June this year. I usually have a calendar that we run events, 2 sessions every month, interchangeably. And today we are honored to have a great team from Flutter, the Flutter team, and Flutter Flow as well. And this session we thought of let's not just come and inject a lot of code and a lot of stuff. So we thought of what of community members could ask now the Flutter team the questions, the burning questions that they have been having all over their Flutter experience. So today, I'm really honored and humbled to have all of you here. So we have a couple of questions, might be quite a lot, that the community would love to hear from you, to hear your opinions, to hear even more about Flutter and what the future plans of Flutter. So I don't want to take a lot of time doing a lot of introduction. I cross it over to Maureen so that she can kickstart it and let the speakers introduce themselves so that we could start. How about you, Maureen? And welcome to today's session. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thank you everyone for joining. Today we have a joint Flutter Meetup India that involves both the Flutter Kisumu and Flutter Kenya developers all at large. And I'm really excited to have all of you with us. Amazing speakers, those who have been inspired, those who have been inspiring us to even write better code and community and everything. So today we have Nile, we have Abel, we have Eric, Danvik, and yeah, and I'm really excited to have you on board. And with that, I'll let Eric introduce himself. Eric Seidel.
Hi, I'm Eric Seidel. I helped start the project 7 years ago, and my job now is to be responsible for the engineering side of Flutter. So nice to see you all. I'm glad that you're using Flutter, and I hope it's working well for you.
Thank you. Nice having you. Sorry, I mispronounced your name. Is it Seidel or Seidel?
I don't know, but I think we've always said Seidel. So, hey.
All right. Nice. Thank you. And the next speaker we have is Abel Mengitsu. I hope I pronounced it right as well. So please go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh, sorry, you're on mute, Abel.
Yes, sorry. My name is tricky because my native language, Amharic, is pronounced Abed. But since I moved to the US, I'll just use the English version of the name, which is just Abel. But I do have some friends who call me Abel. So it's like the most confusing situation, because I think when I first came here, people wanted to call me closer to what it is, and Abel is a little bit closer. But anyway, I've already used my introduction time slot. Just kidding. Yeah. So yeah, I'm one of the founders of Flutterflow. We started building it last year after having been building in Flutter for a while and seeing an opportunity to kind of lower the barrier and get more people using Flutter. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, that's great, and great to learn how to pronounce your name, though I'm not sure if I'll pronounce it right throughout. So thank you for your intro. And the next speaker we have is Danvik. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Danvik. I am part of the organizers of Flutter Kenya. I'm also a consultant. I do mostly indie versus. I've worked for several startups, and I started using Flutter in around 2018, and I've loved it ever since. I've been using it for all my mobile development. So I think that's all about me for now. Thank you.
Wow, that's great to know, and great that you are part of us. So we are going to ask you several questions, so be ready for that. And then I think our next speaker, Nilai, dropped off, or I can't just see her. Yes, I can see her. So then with that, I'll let the rest of the team maybe do a brief intro before we kickstart to the questions. So I'll hand it over to Sam Baraka. Please do a quick intro of yourself as we start the session. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. And we have Isaac Mutie. Please do a brief intro of yourself before we start.
Okay, thanks, Maureen. Hi, guys. My name is Isaac Mutie. I'm also part of the co-organizing team at Flutter Kenya. I've been doing Flutter too since 2018, and I've gotten to love it. And I'm really very glad to host you guys. Thank you. Back to you, Maureen.
All right. Thank you so much, Isaac. And we have Kendi. Kendi, you can just do it briefly because you'll end it.
All right. Thank you, Maureen, and thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Kendi. I'm a co-organizer for Flutter Kenya, and I'm honored to have you here. Thank you.
Awesome. That's great. And I see we now have Nilai, and it's I don't know if it's coincidental that we are all in, is it beige or yellow? Whatever. We didn't agree. Let me make it clear. We didn't agree to twin. So Nilai, please give an introduction of yourself and yeah.
Hi, sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, my connection is really bad today. I'm really sorry. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Nilai, and I also work in the Flutter team. I work in the Flutter developer relations team as a program manager. What I do here is so you can learn about Flutter and you can give us feedback about Flutter, right? We do write code labs, Flutter documentations, Flutter YouTube videos, events, and so many things. And I specifically work on the events and community program. So I get to talk to you and talk to people like you, so we can help you. We can support you in your Flutter journey.
Oh, sorry. Awesome. That's great to know Nilai because I think everyone who does Flutter in some way knows Nilai. or you've interacted with her tweets because she makes a lot of noise there. And it's great to have you today. And we also have lots of questions regarding community and that we let me say getting noticed, because personally I also get such questions, people asking me like, how can I get noticed, who are the right people to approach? And it's good to have you today, so thank you so much. And to start it off, we have like sets of questions which our community members already had written in our Slido event. So today we are going to go through them and ask you what you think about them. So I'll hand it over to Isaac or Eric to do like the intro of the first questions as we try to filter them. So thank you and feel welcomed.
Thanks, Maureen, for that. Kindly allow me to pass it over to Eric for just 2 minutes as I solve a technical problem on my side. Thank you.
Okay. I think I had not introduced myself when Maureen was telling people to introduce themselves. So I don't want to feel I've been left out. So my name is Muli Eric. I've been using Flutter for quite some time, like since it was version 0.8 beta, and I've seen it grown over time. Those are around 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, and most of the questions that I've been receiving from community members are kind of evolving, because the questions that were there back then are not the same that are being asked currently. So we have a set of questions, community members that I wanted to know. So I'm going to just start with one from someone called Brian Edge. I think it's a Flutter GTE. Then was asking, what is the biggest mental handle Flutter face in its adoption? So what's the biggest mental handle that Flutter face in its adoption? I think I'm going to throw this question to Nilay. She's kind of thinking a lot. I'm not sure why. So how about you, Nilay? What do you think? What's that mental handle that Flutter is facing?
Oh, okay. So let me tell you if I understand the question right. So are you asking what was the biggest problem while people like on the Flutter adoption? What was the thing people were
Yeah, exactly. That's
asking
the
more,
question.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I've been in the Flutter team almost like 4 years now, and I am one of the oldest team members right now. And then we even haven't announced Flutter 1.0 when I joined the team. So Flutter was not in production version. So after I joined the team, we announced the Flutter production version and Flutter 2 and now other releases. And you generally people are like so excited about Flutter and what Flutter offers to them, right? So this is why it's an exciting technology, comes in the right time. So everyone was so excited. And especially when they use Flutter, they were like, wow, like this is amazing. Like it's so easy to use, so awesome, you can do awesome things. And the most popular question I had then in the beginning was, but what if Google doesn't support Flutter anymore? Like, Google is infamous on like not supporting technologies, but like people were in the beginning were worried about that. Like, what if Google kills Flutter? What are we gonna all do? And it's been 4 years now, and we all see that how much Flutter got bigger, right? And how many more people are using it and are getting excited about it. The good thing is, I don't get that question too much a lot, but in the beginning, it was the most popular question.
Actually, you've mentioned something about Google killing Flutter. Actually, I see there's a question about that. Someone is saying, how is sure that Flutter is going to be there in the future? Because I've seen a tendency of Google killing their technologies. So how is sure we're not going to lose Flutter after all this investment in it? What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, Eric is a great person.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't predict the future, but Dart isn't 100% open source. Flutter is 100% open source. There are many millions of lines of Dart code inside Google. There are lots and lots of teams using Flutter. So like, even if something terrible happened tomorrow and somebody tried to kill it, it would take a very long time to go away. But no, we're in fact, exactly the opposite. We're investing in Flutter. We're hiring right now, which, as you see on the Flutter Dev/jobs site. And so I think Flutter and Dart usage is just going up inside Google and just going up outside in the world. And so I don't see any path to it going away anytime soon.
Awesome. Actually, I was also personally I've been worried about that for quite some time. Because you get some other developers are like, they're only developers that just know Flutter, and then they're like, what if it ends tomorrow? So I think we're kind of safe about that. Now I'm going, Maureen, I can tackle a bit of the next question. Over to you, Maureen.
All right, thank you so much, Eric. And we have two Erics. So both the two Erics and delay for the questions and the response. So I'll get the next question for Abel. So someone was asking in our Slido platform, what do you think about a future of no code? Do you think Flutter developers will be rendered irrelevant in the future? Like now we have the Flutter flow. So what's the future for Flutter developers? People are worried of losing their jobs and losing their income.
Yeah, so thanks so much for asking that question. I think it's one of, it's a common, at least to me, a misconception that we've seen. So part of our goal with Flutterflow was kind of lowering the barrier, right? So typically with that, what we were hoping to do is making it easier to use and making it so that you, even if let's say you have, if you're a Flutter beginner, in fact, our most active users are people who've known a little bit of Flutter, but now can use Flutterflow and quickly, have some starting point. And then, part of the reason why I think in general for some no-code platforms might have it so that the code is not even available to you, right? It's a black box. You're just using visual tools, and you can try to build this. It's like almost like a PowerPoint presentation. You only use the visual tools, and you're done there. And that's kind of against our philosophy, right? We think code is the most expressive, and it's important to. There are some things you can't do without writing code. And a good example itself might be our code generator, for instance. It would be, very hard to try to build that visually just for the sake of it. And so that's kind of our goal. And we've seen more users actually get into Flutter. We've had some users from React Native say, oh, I can use this tool. That makes it easier for me. I'll use it. And kind of think similar to like pub dev packages, for instance, that do something for you and make it easier to use. Kind of speaking to the future of no code. I think no code is just going to be that type of thing as a tool that people use to just get things done quicker. And unless people want to always write more code, that if you always want to do the things from scratch or not use helpers and so on, then it's definitely you're not going to like the kind of thing we're working on. But in general, I think it's just making it easier is our goal.
All right, that's great to know. So one follow-up question. So what do you feel about someone who is just getting started with Flutter? Do you recommend them to start with no code method, or just trying to understand the inner bits of how Flutter works first before getting into the no code flow?
So in fact, I would say this: when we started building Flutterflow, we had been writing. We had already wrote a lot of lines of Flutter code because we were trying to build an app in a former startup, and that's exactly why we started it. Actually, is we kind of did post-mortem of the startup, like what went wrong at the last startup that we did, and we felt like moving fast enough was the problem. We couldn't iterate quickly enough to kind of test different experiences, because at a startup usually you could easily die if people aren't using your product and you're not growing your metric. And so we thought, to be able to create more experiences quickly, can we have a tool that makes it a little bit easier for us? And so we'd already written a lot of Flutter code, but with Flutterflow, I've actually learned some things about Flutter that it was harder to realize beforehand, because you drop in a column into a container. For example, if I asked, what happens if you just have a scaffold and you drop in a column into the scaffold? Is the column going to be kind of centered? Is it going to be on the left? Is it going to take the whole screen? Is it going to be fully wide? And this is something that we'd always have to have hot reload on and type and just kind of see, and harder to know off the top of your head. But after you kind of use the tool, it quickly teaches you about some of the how Flutter layouts behave and so on. I think easier than kind of the longer process of having to kind of type in the properties and then check. So I've found it easier to learn some of the basic concepts. I think for sure you'd want to buy a Flutter book and kind of dive in if you want to get better at Flutter. I don't think you can use a tool like Flutterflow and just fully learn Flutter, but it definitely makes it easier because you can quickly, you can use Visual Tool without having syntax burden to change something, and then look at the syntax of what changed. Sorry, it's a long-winded answer, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that answers it. So thank you so much for clarifying and explaining more on that. And the next question I'll ask Danvik. Danvik has said that he's been doing Flutter for the last 3 years. So I believe he's one of the major, let me say, pioneers of Flutter developers within Kenya. So this question goes to you. So what do you think about open source, especially in relation to Flutter? How can someone contribute and things like that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Maureen. I think I once gave a talk in Flutter Kisumu Meetup about how to get started developing packages. So when I started Flutter, I think it had quite a limited number of packages that someone could use. For example, and there was some gaps in Flutter that you could see packages could come in and sort. That is the reason why I started working on most people know me because of Flutter Form Builder, so which is basically something that I built. I think it was one of my first projects in Flutter because I saw the need. I wanted to develop an app that basically consumed a lot to do with forms. So I saw it as a way to plug in and solve a problem. And in solving that problem for myself, I also solved it for so many other people out there. In fact, like the package is, I can even say it has outgrown me. There are like 250 issues. I can't even, without the help of community members and who are very good at managing open source, without help with the Flutter community, I think it has helped me also grow. That is something that I would encourage anyone. If you see anything that you write a widget or you write a function that you see, this helped me in project 1, 2, 3, think about maybe making it, sharing out there, because there's a likelihood that so many people are facing the same problem. So by solving that problem, you will get to learn more, you get to experience everything that comes with open source development. And the biggest thing is learning from it. I think from my own experience, yeah. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's great to know that you have some packages out there that are actually helping people. And personally, I've checked it out and it's really amazing. So I'll ask this question to Eric as Isaac prepares himself to ask you the next question. So Eric Seidel. So there's this question someone was asking, what are the plans for Flutter Web? Any upcoming improvements on SEO?
So we actually published a roadmap, or a sort of a high-level roadmap for Flutter Web a month or two ago. We could find it on Medium and link to it for your askers. What are the plans? Well, we're working with a bunch of Google teams who want to launch on Flutter Web, and we're fixing their issues. This is long how we've driven the team, is very customer focused, including individual customers, and trying to get a single customer over the line. Abel may recognize this. I went to Y Combinator 15 years ago, and so I sort of have some of this steeped of, this is how you start a thing, is you just get one person happy. And so we're very focused on getting our few internal customers for Flutter Web really happy. We have avoided SEO in the sense of that Flutter Web right now is designed for taking your existing app and moving it to the web, or app-like experiences on the web. But we are talking about how might we take Flutter Web and be able to, with a straight face, pitch it to those who want to start from the web first. And that does include things like SEO. So I don't have any like specific concrete dates to announce. It's all open source. You can watch us do it. But it's certainly high on the list, but not probably top of the list yet, SEO. And again, I'd refer you to that roadmap that Miriam so nicely wrote.
All right, thank you. Thanks for confirming that. So Isaac, take it up.
Thank you, Maureen. And our next question is mostly on best practices. So I throw it to any member of the team. And it asks, should part files or generated files be committed to Git? What are your individual opinions? Then what is the official Flutter team opinion? So I think it's a question on best practices. I know we've both dealt with code generation packages like Freeze. So should those generated files be committed to Git? So I'll throw it to Tim. Anyone can pick it up.
Yeah, I think they should, because packages evolve, and from time to time, maybe you'd rather have code that works than your new team member getting a version of the code they start generating something that doesn't work. You'd rather have it there, and I think even most of the packages, if you read the documentation, they will advise you to do the same. So I think that is my answer, unless someone else has a different opinion.
Sorry, just a question on that. I love this because it's more of conversational. So in regards to that, Dan, do you mean like all of the generated code or all generated package specific code?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same, because once it's generated, basically it generates it for you, so that is part of your code. It doesn't remain as part of the package, and the package will evolve. So maybe if when someone upgrades the package, you'll have to you'll have to generate a new one, and it may not be fitting your purposes. So you'd rather have it there, so that in case there's any issue going forward, you may roll back. Let's say, for example, you roll back the version of the package that you're using that generated the code. You may also want to roll back the code itself, because if it's not working, if the next version is not working, and you want to depend on the version that you are currently on, and basically you'd rather go back. You'd rather be able to roll back also the changes that you have, since it's part of your code.
Thanks for confirming.
Thanks, Danvik, for that answer. Maybe any other team member with maybe an add-on or anything to touch on that? Okay, thank you. Then allow me to ask another question before I give it back to Maureen. So this one is on Flutter Web. So I'll also throw it to the team. And someone is asking if there are any upcoming improvements, especially on SEO. So maybe what are the plans for that?
I think Eric already answered that.
Okay, then back to you, Maureen.
Oh, sorry for that. So thank you for the questions. So I'd love to ask this question to Nilay, because this is something I was asked when I was speaking at a Flutter Cameroon event. They were trying to ask, because mostly they are French speakers, and their audience mostly don't, English is not their first language. So some of them were asking, how can they be noticed in the Flutter community? Because some of them are actually working on great content, YouTube content, and things like that. So maybe you can touch on what should they do for what they're doing to get noticed with other Flutter members from other places, be it for the French-speaking nations or even the English-speaking nations.
Right. So we are definitely very supportive to all local communities and people who does Flutter and like contribution in their local language, because we need that. Not everyone can talk English, so we really need people to do some support in their local languages, and it's great. So if we ask them, then okay, they are doing great stuff, and how we can know more about them. It is really, but like I don't know any French words. So if I see anything written in French on the internet or on Twitter, I most likely wouldn't be understand. But like Google Translate, and like if I just translate, I understand that. But they don't have to speak English or do any kind of English to talk or anything. Uh, but we will, if they participate in also other global communities like Flutter communities, Slack channel, or like these kind of events, right? We talk each other, we meet here, and if they introduce themselves, they talk about things, we see them, I see them, and I try to support them a lot. So this really encourage people to do for Flutter, but if they want, also let us global events and communities as well, so we can notice them.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining that, and it's great to know that.
Yep, sure.
Sorry. Yeah. And it's great to know that they can always share like any content in their native language, despite the difference on if English is not their first language or not. So thank you for that, Nilay. And I'll ask this next question to Abel. So someone was asking, how do you enable Flutter Octopus debugging using multiple devices?
Actually, I don't think I'm the best. I haven't heard of Flutter Octopus, so I don't think I'm the best person to answer this.
Yeah, so Eric.
Pass it off to Eric.
So Flutter Octopus was a demo we did. Chris Sells put it together a year or two ago. There's a -all flag, I think, or I think this ended up landed. It was a patch at the time that we did it, so it like wasn't in the actual code base. But it was a small change to the Flutter tool to, instead of sending to one device, send to all device. And so I think there may be a hidden device all, or it may be -d all, or it's possible we removed it. But there was a time at which you could send from Flutter, the Flutter tool, and have it talk to all devices at once, all connected devices. And that was built for this demo, hacked together for the demo for this Flutter Octopus, which I'm sure is somewhere on the internet. And he has like 6 screens or something, all running Flutter, all different devices.
Yeah, I think I saw it too, and it was really interesting to see like all the devices running from a single code base and all running the same thing. So it was so much interesting. So I'll take this next question before I hand it over back to Isaac to handle next sets of questions. So someone was asking, it was addressed to Kamal, but Kamal is not here with us today for some reasons. So someone was asking, what does it take to be a GDE? So I'll hand it over to anyone who is willing to answer.
I'd like to answer by passing it to you now that you are the first GDE in Kenya. So
Right.
maybe you let us know.
Oh, okay. So from my personal experience, I'm just let me say I'm about 2 months old GDE, which is a honor. So this is something I always like to say. I'm an expert because I have the tag expert. However, from the community, we have several experts. So what should you do to be an expert, or rather be seen out there? So it's just the same things that Nilay mentioned. If you are writing articles, put it out there. If you learned something new, share it. either in video, or if you have a podcast, share your content. If you're building packages, share it out there, because it helps grow the community, because people learn daily. So from my experience as a GDE, there are several things for me as a person that I'm still learning from the community. And it's just more of what you're doing to the community and what you're getting from the community. And it's nothing different from what you do in your day to day. So if you are writing articles, creating video content, continue doing that, because it helps grow community. It helps upskill your community members. If you host events, like those acts that make people learn and things like that. Yeah, so it's just basically that. But I'll hand it over to Nilay to add something on the GDE topic.
Sure. Yeah, you explained it very well, Maureen. And yeah, you are the first, I think, female GD in Africa, right? And this is so exciting. And for the GDs, there are three big criteria that actually the program we are looking for. Number one is you should really be expert on Flutter. You should really know about Flutter. It's not that you should know like everything, every detail, but you should be not having some deep dive knowledge on some specific topics and you should be able to write applications, do some good stuff, like some expert knowledge. And the second one, you should like the community contribution. So yes, you know Flutter very well, but also how can you help other people to learn Flutter or to use Flutter? And what is your contribution to community and Flutter itself? And it can be like events, talks, articles, YouTube videos, anything that you are contributing to Flutter and Flutter's community. And the third one, you should have a good reputation in the community, which means that you should be a nice person. That is really important. So these are the three things that we are looking. If you're interested in learning more about the program, but like what are might be some specific things you can do, you can just send me a message on Twitter. I can share we have a whole list. I can share the list with you.
Thank you, and thanks for adding lots of the details on how to get there and what's required. So back to you, Isaac. You can ask the next set of questions.
Thank you, Maureen. And my next question will be addressed to Eric. Someone is asking, hi, we are a company from the Netherlands and we are already a Google partner and want to kickstart with Flutter development. Any advice you would give us? So maybe Eric, what do you have to say for them?
How to get started with Flutter development? Well, I do think the Apprentice book is good. In the Netherlands, I would expect there to be several local meetups. There's the Flutter Slack study group. In terms of being a Google partner, I don't know what that means. I know there's lots of different kinds of Google partners, so it's possible you have a rep that you may also provide you resources. Flutter these days is so well established. Like there's just literally millions of devs that it's quicker generally to talk to the devs who are close by, in the same Slack channel than it is to try to reach out to our team. Like we're happy to be responsive, but we're not very useful to getting your app off the ground. We're much more useful to you in fixing bugs and making the next release be amazing and that kind of thing. So I hope that helps, but there should be lots of learning materials, or I would expect there to be lots of learning materials, including I know there are people who do consultation services where you can pay them to come in and train your team. I certainly have seen that in the GDE space. So those may all be options to you.
Thank you, Eric, for that. And my next question would also be to you. And someone is asking, it's a question on Hydro SDK that's using TypeScript in Flutter instead of Dutch, and over-the-air updates, that's the OTA feature. And what's your take on it?
I think my connection may have cut out just a minute there. Is this about code push? About over-the-air updates?
No. Somebody is asking about the Hydro SDK, and that's using TypeScript in Flutter instead of that. And also the over-the-air updates, that's the OTA feature. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, I see this as all related. So I've not personally used Hydro, but I'm glad to see it being developed. I think it's great to see all sorts of interesting takes, in this space. We didn't write Flutter for it to be the one true final answer for all development for all time. We wrote it to raise the ocean, right? To move everybody forward. And so I'm glad to see people further innovating. And I know there's a whole bunch of these different over-the-air update frameworks, particularly in the China market, where this is just a required feature. Due to the differences in the way the stores work there. So we have experimented some with over-the-air updates, what we sometimes call code push. We don't currently have a shipping recommended setup. There are some further experiments. There's one that Ian, who's another longtime member of the project, helped found it with me, wrote a couple months ago called Remote Flutter Widgets. It's on Pub. Again, just an experiment sort of to try and see different approaches. There's several of these inside Google. I don't know how many of these will get released externally. Not that we're trying to hide, just they were written specifically for a single app. So I guess I don't have a recommended solution. I'm glad to see the innovation, would be my answer.
Okay, and thank you, Eric. And I hope that helps for the person who asked the question. And before I give it back to Maureen, also, I think this one would also be directed to you. So somebody is asking, recently Compose just went stable and the Android dev team at Google was quoted saying that the Flutter team provided insights. I guess they would like to know how. Hello, Eric, did you get that?
Maybe I could jump in and clarify the question.
Okay.
So
Please.
someone was asking, this Android engineer has been using Kotlin for a while. Then he's saying like recently Compose went to stable, and the Android developer team at Google were quoted saying that Flutter team provided insights. So he was just wondering if in the future Flutter will get a feature like the modifier. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the modifier. It's in Jetpack Compose. aka a right to widget composition, something of the sort. I think it's trying to focus on the modifier aspect of Jetpack Compose. So yeah, to you, Eric.
I think I'll have to claim ignorance of the specific modify feature in Compose. We have long worked closely with that team. We speak regularly. They're writing in Kotlin, we're writing in Dart. We're sort of solving different problems. We're working to write on iOS, and Compose is focused on Android. As an example of different problems that we're solving. So I don't know about the modify or modifiers feature inside Compose. I clearly should, and after this, I will go learn more.
Just to add on to that question before we go away from the question, what do you think of Kotlin multi-platform, and is it somehow a threat to Flutter?
Again, similar to the discussion of Hydro SDK and all these other, my interest is in moving the world forward here. I am so glad that Flutter was part of, that we have had this chance to work with the Compose team, who are writing something that is like the default for Android, right? As opposed to Flutter, where we're trying to be everywhere. Do I see it as a threat? I mean, I'm just glad to see more options, right? When I was writing mobile apps, I would rather have had, 5 great ways to write everywhere than 0, and I had 0. And so I'm glad that there's more innovation in this space. And so I don't think about threats in that way. I think about serving users. How do we delight users? I think when teams focus on competition, on other solutions, we tend to miss the mark, because the competition, whoever that is also trying to focus on users, and they're missing with the users somehow. So why are we doing a second level of indirection instead of just going straight to the users? So I'm trying to focus on the users and make users happy.
Awesome, great. So this one goes to Nilay. I've had a couple of questions, most revolving around people wanting to start Flutter communities. So they're like, how do we get started? How do we build a community from scratch upground to reach levels that we can have or host huge events, successful events, events that are meaningful to their members? So how would you answer someone like that, Nile?
Right. So we just launched our Flutter Meetups network on Meetup. So we are officially supporting local meetups. Now Sarah also joined the team. She's doing an amazing job to support all the meetup groups. Um, we also opened the application form to the new applicants. So if someone wants to start a new community in their local city, they are welcome to apply. So the things we ask in the form, I think that might help you to like understand a little bit more like what it means. So if you're we are asking like tell us what you're planning, like tell us about your event plans. What is your goal? What is your how do you want to help your local community? What are some specific things that you want to bring in your community and do in your community? So that is very important. So local meetups are really important for Flutter because it's not possible for us to talk to everyone like in every language or go to every places, right? But local meetups are doing it, and this is amazing. This is an amazing work. So we really need their help. And in the important part is here that how would you serve your community? What would be the specific things you would do for your community? So if you are really liking to talking with other people, bringing people together, and then helping other people, and spending some volunteering time because most of us have like full-time jobs, and then we also have to spend time for the community, right? So if you have time, if you want to spend that time, you can start thinking about starting a Flutter meetup or Flutter local community. We also ask for like, have you run any meetup before? Send us what happened there. So the examples of having past events is a really good indicator that there are some things happening there. Um, Also, again, like being nice to other people is very good. Are you someone that people know you in that community? They like you. Are you like good with other people? That's also another indicator that you might be doing amazing things for the community. So if you're interested in starting a new meetup, just do it. Just start running a small meetup, bring a few people together, do have some discussions, give talks, reach out to other speakers, and then grow your meetup and reach out to us. Fill out our application form and show us how you're doing that. We're happy to support you and grow your community.
Awesome, that's great. Actually, that's how Flutter Kenya and Flutter Kisumu Sports was started. Yeah, being part of the organizing team, you've seen the same process, just the same. There's no magic or something that you need to do out of the box. Just get involved. So the next question, I'm going to throw it over to you, Abel. Someone is asking, with Flutter maturing, is there any interest in developing a set of application architecture component similar to Android? Like a specific architecture that Flutter engineers or Flutter developers are going to follow. Is there plan for that, or is there anyone that is existing, like the way we can identify ones from people that are doing Kotlin, Android with Kotlin or Java?
So I guess this is just my personal opinion here. I'm obviously not part of the Flutter team, so but I think maybe I've already seen companies like Very Good Ventures release like recommended architectures for how they do development, and in terms of how they set up a new project and what type of frameworks they use. We're not very opinionated about that personally, but it's usually super helpful to have specific recommendations for how for architecting your app. So I think it's a beneficial thing to have.
Awesome, great. What do you think, Eric? What you, Eric?
So we have a separate team inside Google whose job it is to support the Google usage of Flutter, and they do much more of a stronger sort of set of recommendations. Like this is how you should start your app. And I think one of the things that it is appropriate time for us to start having stronger sets of recommendations, because I do think a lot of people would like and you've seen us sort of dabble with this with the recommending provider as an example. We're in the process of updating our templates to be a little bit more opinionated. Again, we were filling a technological hole when we built Flutter of we want to have a UI framework on a device that doesn't have one. That was our sort of first initial clients where they just didn't have Android, they just had like a custom build of Linux or something like that. And I think as we've seen so much success, particularly in the mobile space, and particularly with so many broad range of developers, it is, I think, appropriate for us to start offering firmer opinions. And I think you will see us do that over time.
Awesome, great. So I'm not sure if Danvik would touch on that or okay.
I agree with Eric. I think Google needs to give some way. I really like. I'm very opinionated. If you ask people I've worked with in development, like Isaac and Sam, I'm very opinionated. I like things in a structured way, just to make sure that continuation of the project doesn't stall just because there's change of personnel. So I would really like Google to basically get us there by recommending some things. I am aware that the community itself has developed multiple good standards that maybe the Google team may have a problem choosing or selecting which one to really back, but by supporting those that are developing those kinds of architecture, even if they support most or all of them, so that someone has an option, but at least there's a way you can very easily structure your application in a way that is there are smart people in the community, and if you can leverage on their smartness or on their experience in developing apps. So that would be very, 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 very helpful, especially for those who are starting. Because if you make some mistake, let's say, for example, things to do with loading data with maybe a list view or something like that, maybe if you do it wrong, it will affect your app and it will affect the way things work in your app. And managing state, if you don't do it correctly, then it will obviously have an impact on your app. And making sure that there's some kind of structure options, it will help the community and it will help basically the growth of Flutter also. So I think, Eric, maybe this is something that you can discuss internally, see what can become there. Thank you.
Okay, great. Seeing that almost our time is almost over, we have plenty of questions, but allow me to handle like these two questions. Someone is asking, what is something on your wish list for Flutter and Dart ecosystem at large? For Flutter and Dart, I think this I should throw this to everyone. And actually, what do you think about Flutter in the next 3 years? What should we expect? So I think those two questions can be imagined. Yeah. Where should we start? Abel, should we start with you?
Yeah, I think, for me, Flutter has already solved a lot, like in terms of how much it's grown, what it can let you do. So, our platform, Flutterflow, when we first started using Flutter Webb for it, there was some, it was still beta, right? It was before the Web stable release. So there were some issues we were trying to kind of work around, but now it's even, much faster, a lot smoother. So I think it's a matter of just more polish like that, where it's just working with fewer issues. A lot of the functionality is possible. And so I think when you take that and apply it across different platforms, from embedded to desktop, I think it's really the first time where we've been able to unlock that, to have like a single code base that's running natively and, allowing you to create, beautiful experiences that run comparable to writing it in whatever native framework there. that's like the first time we've gotten there, and it's just a matter of polish to kind of get it so that it actually feels native across all these platforms. And it's already working beautifully on, at least on mobile and web, starting to on web as well. And I think seeing that across all platforms is what I'm most excited about for the future.
Awesome, great. And like, what do you think? Flutter has really grown. We have like plenty of communities all over globally. So what do you think? How do you think about the future?
Exactly. So it's so exciting that like the community, like as Flutter grows, community is also growing a lot. And like again, I just want to repeat that community is really important for Flutter. So for as Google, we are not able to do everything for Flutter in terms of like uh, improving Flutter, helping others, supporting others. But the community is doing amazing job to make Flutter better and to make the community better. So, and the community grew a lot. Now we have a lot of meetup groups everywhere, a lot of GDs, and huge Flutterista group, and so many people are helping each other in many different ways. And I think this is also one of the other indicators that like Flutter, that feature is awesome, like it's going to be great because there are so many awesome people doing amazing stuff on Flutter right now.
Awesome, great. Seidel, just something.
Right. And thank you for organizing today. Like, this is amazing. So, thanks for bringing us here today.
Awesome, welcome. Eric, do you have any something to talk on that, Todd?
You're asking me?
Yeah, sure, you.
Things that I would like to see with Flutter. I guess so much of my time is focused on my team rather than the rest of the world. But as Nilay said, community is so important. And so for us, we think a lot about growth and how do we grow the community, just for the sort of virtuous cycle that produces. We heard questions earlier tonight about how do I start with Flutter? Well, when it's obvious because there's 3 meetups, down the road, then we've solved that problem. And so I think that we have grown a lot. I think the community is quite large. I think we could be a lot larger, and thus we could be helping more developers to realize their dreams without having to think about staffing multiple teams or whether their tools are going to work on their chosen platform. So I guess that's where I think about growth. There's other things that I'm thinking about for my team, like performance and SEO, as you talked about, and security, and making sure that we're always providing you a consistent, assured product. But that would be the simple answer.
Okay, great. I think that's the last question that I would have gone to. I'm going to hand it over to Candy to wrap it up for us and also take that group pic where all of us have turned all our cameras. So over to you, Candy.
All right, thank you so much, Eric. Thank you to our amazing speakers. We were honored to have you, Eric, Abel, Danvik, and Nile. That was quite an honor to ambush you guys along this time of Christmas, and all of you magically honored our invite, and we are genuinely really grateful to have you here. Wow, I'm really excited to see the amazing things that Flutter is coming to bring on board, and to see the community growing, as well as to see more people joining this amazing platform. And the fact that we know now that Google is not killing Flutter, so some of us are safe in our work and all. Yeah, it actually feels really, really amazing. Okay, so I would like for us to take the photo. I can only see the screens up there. I don't know how to go about this, but I'll still take the screenshot nonetheless. And I'm hoping to see all of you next year, and we are also planning big things, and we are also looking forward to hosting this event in person. I hope everything is going to the regulations going to be easy on us. Yeah, and looking forward to bringing you guys in Kenya. You teach us these things. It would be really nice to have you in person as well. All right. Thank you to my amazing co-organizers. You guys did an amazing job. and planning these things with you was really cool. So thank you, Eric and Sam and Maureen and Isaac. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Happy
Bye,
New Year.
everyone.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
And as we close, we love to play a video from members. They for them to share their experiences and how they have gone around using Flutter. So over to you, Sam. So bye bye everyone. See you later.
Uh,
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys for attending our session today, and we are really looking forward to see you next year. Yeah. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
How are you? My name is Velma and I am a Flutter developer. My journey with Flutter has been awesome, especially because of the detailed documentation that it provides. How are you? My name is Velma and I am a Flutter developer. My journey with Flutter has been awesome, especially because of the detailed documentation that it provides. It is much easier to look for information and very comprehensive in understanding. It also has a lot of tutorials which are good in demonstrating and giving detailed information. It is also a simpler language to learn, especially with a background in JavaScript. It has been much easier to transition to Flutter. It also has a simple syntax. Another good thing is the ability to use any IDE of your choice. You can use Android Studio, you can use Visual Studio Code, you can use IntelliJ, and I like it because it does not limit one to any specific technology, and it has been such an awesome journey with Flutter.
Hi everyone, I'm Calvin Kosgei, a software engineer based in Kosgei, a software engineer based in Nairobi, Kenya. Currently working with Flutter a lot and really excited about it. So yeah, 2021 has been a really interesting and exciting year for Flutter. We've had thousands of PRs merged, as well as thousands of issues resolved, which has really made Flutter a much better framework to work with and actually to use. Other than that, we've had a set of new widgets released and a bunch of performance improvements made. Just to mention some of these performance improvements, the first one is the iOS junk issue, which was affecting animations. And now, after the improvements had been made, we are now experiencing much better and smoother animations. The other thing is improved dev tools. With this, it's now easier to debug our apps and, of course, find bugs. The other thing is to do with the platform channels. There's been reduced latency when passing messages between the dark side and the native side, either the iOS or the Android side, which is a really nice improvement. Lastly, is to do with the latest Flutter release, which is Flutter 2.8. It's faster and uses less memory. Yeah, so that's all from me. Really excited and hopeful to see what the future holds for Flutter.